The world we live in is a slippery slope if we really don't understand what's happening. If we can't better understand this, it's going to be really hard. Yes, this pattern is a bearish pattern where you get a rising wedge. You usually look for the downside towards the support. Now, is that an angle showing you we are going all the way to the downside? Now, that's where you need to understand this is Ether on a daily. Last time it was making a falling wedge kind of stuff, but it broke to the downside. It continued that momentum to the downside. So that just happened to be the continuation pattern there. Right now, if you are looking at this on a daily, you see a channel which is at the bottom where you kind of see like, okay, that's a Wyckoff channel. You kind of get it there, then you break that to the upside, you move up, and right now you're making a bearish pattern. You can say on a short term, this is a bearish pattern, you're going to go down. But at the same time, you look at the RSI, you look at the MACD and the volume, it suggests like, okay, there are bulls in the market. So if you are following the news right now, you understand, okay, there is a lot of things happening in and around your finance, especially if you are in crypto. This is actually huge, right? If you're understanding this properly, now you're like, okay, there's a lot of things which I have to keep in mind. But here you kind of get, now when Krama kind of put anything out, you kind of goes like, okay, whether you're bullish, bearish, if most likely what's happening in the market is true, then you may have to go against what that guy is doing, right? So right now, if you are looking at the market, you do see all of this happening in the macro fundamentals. But with Ether, kind of highlighting like, okay, September 15th is going to be the date, 15th or 16th is going to be the date where they are going to do the merge. We kind of have that time frame till 15th, I would say, because they may even come out at 14th night and say, okay, there's something we have to fix, we'll do this by December. That's a possibility, you can't deny that. Now if they happen to do this on that particular date, it's all good, it's all great. But if it's delaying, they have been delaying this from a very long time. So now, if you are looking at the price action on a short term, yes, you do see a pattern which is a little bit bearish, but on the macro, you are looking for the Bitcoin dominance. It's still at this range of consolidation. It did not break higher or lower. It still is waiting with that support here. So if you break this, okay, you now have altcoins moving higher. Now, this is one of the reasons why last time we talked and we highlighted this. We break this range, we now go test this moving average and then this previous level. So that gives altcoins a little bit more room to run. So if you remember what we've been talking about here before the CPI was out, it kind of turned out to be on that idea, right? CPI was lower and the market is anticipating Fed going even dovish, and that's slowly taking back higher. So right now, when you're looking at the market, the altcoins are moving. You look at the indicators, that kind of gives you the idea of the overall market. But yes, you do have to step in, you do have to break this down in a way that you understand like, okay, what really is happening with the price action. Right now, when you're looking at the market, you kind of see like, okay, Bitcoin went close to 25, but right now it's just below 24. What really is happening there? You need to zoom in, you need to break Bitcoin, Ether, altcoin market as a whole, and then look at XRP, like what it is doing with relation to all these news and movement in the other assets. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Now, XRP is still at the same area. We didn't change much. We actually bounced from this resistance turned support and 21-day moving average. We are holding on to that on a daily, and that does give us a little bit confidence. Like, okay, we are slowly holding above this level. You kind of see like, okay, a candle, 3-day candle has broken through this. We are holding that level. We came above that and closed there. So that is a little bit of positive stuff in the market. But right now, when you're looking at Bitcoin, you're like, okay, fine, we still have divergence going on on a shorter time span, this is a higher high created by the price, but at the same time you do see the RSI printing a lower high, so that is a little bit for the base. But right now if you take all this out and look at like, okay, on a daily, what does my RSI suggest me? It does actually point towards the upside, meaning it is showing you that I'm bouncing. This does actually look like an ascending triangle way. The possibility is that the price may break to the upside. So first, when the RSI breaks higher, you're looking at the volume. If the volume is green and huge, that does actually give more towards the bulls. So if you're putting the horizontal level of resistance, now you're breaking through that, which is actually bullish. Now if you're a pattern guy, you're observing the pattern, you're now trying to connect these resistance, and you are like, okay, I'm not going into that because the price need to break through this particular range. Now this is a bearish pattern, but we have seen this happening a lot of times where bearish patterns get a break to the upside. So that is added bullishness. We have actually seen these happening again and again. Right here, if you're looking at this, the price which printed here is kind of a bullish pattern, and the price happened to bounce higher in a bullish momentum. Whereas here, if you're observing this, this was a continuation pattern. You came lower, fine. Right now, what the price is printing is a bearish pattern. So we need to actually wait and see how we break to the upside or downside. But when we are looking at this, we also do understand like, okay, this has been a level of support. We are bouncing from that level. And when we are observing this, it kind of gives us that ability to say like, okay, this level has been breached. We are moving slowly to the upside. So this is not a short-term pattern which we are observing. You do have this playing out, but in between, it opens the room showing like, okay, you broke that one. Now you are slowly going to the upside. So even if you have this level of short-term bearishness here printed in the pattern, a break to the upside is possible. So I know that, people have been talking about upside, downside, a mixed signals, but these are all individual opinions. Now the question is, do you understand the market enough for you to make a decision? So if this helps you to get a bit more clarity, that is my win, right? Say if you are looking at this, you are trying to just connect through your level of resistance, and you can say like, okay, this is a range where you've been resisted. You're going up, the price is coming back down, meaning the sellers or those who are taking profits are moving out there. Sellers are entering there, pushing the price lower. But each time when the sellers are coming down, or imagine people take profit here, they're buying back here, or sellers are trying to push to the downside from here, they're exiting the market here. So each time this is happening, this is going to the upside. So in another way, if you're looking at this, it is like, okay, sellers are losing their ground and buyers are holding on to this. They're pushing to the other side. So now the next area of resistance on the supply range would be like here. We are waiting for that. Now, you remember we've been talking like, okay, when we were close to 20, we were saying this. We're going to come test 25, we're going to consolidate there and then go to 28, 30, right? So we came to this position right now. So if you've been listening to this channel from some time, now you already know a month back we were talking about this. Now we are there. So right now, I think before September 15th, you are going to actually see this level tested. Now, this level is also a medium to long-term range, which you need to keep an eye on, because if you are plotting this for the long term, now you understand like, okay, the price has been getting supported that price range. So now, if you are looking for the indicators to give you a hint about what it is going to do, you can kind of take this all out and then go on a weekly chart. Now, this is completely Bitcoin, because Bitcoin kind of gives you that idea of understanding where the institutions are moving. And you see like, okay, it is really close to that level of resistance, and a break gives you what you really want to the upside. Fine. Now the same if you are moving into XRP, one of the easy stuff which you can do is like, okay, you take all these out and you put a Heikin Ashi chart there, and within Heikin Ashi you are actually trying to follow whether we are in green or whether we are in red, meaning here if it's the bulls, retaining the power. Right now on a daily it is, and you go on a 3-day, it is bulls persisting day. So if I'm looking at this on my thought process, on a weekly, your moving average, the short-term moving average, which is a 21-day moving average, is trending to the downside, and it is about to cross the 200-day moving average to the downside. Now that is bearish, but as I explained in last video, usually whenever this happens, price come back, test the moving average. So that is having a lot of possibilities. Next thing, you're coming on to a 3-day chart. What you see here is the RSI being neutral, a 21-day moving average. Then you go on to a daily RSI, meaning you are looking at the daily, and the RSI is bullish here. The moving average is pointing to the upside. Price is above the moving average. It's green. So I wouldn't actually go bearish at this point. Now you can say like, okay, the market has a lot to recover from because we've dropped heavily. The highs of $2 is nowhere near to see. We need to actually go back up. But this is not that point where you see like, okay, we are going all the way back down to 0.11. The price may actually consolidate. It may have a long way kicking out, all those leverage trades. But if you're in this market, you kind of stay away from the noise and you look for your resistance patterns to understand where you should take your profits. And you kind of see like, okay, the price is going to actually come back higher. It's going to hit this range. Now, when is the question, and that's the hardest part everyone have tried to address. But, we are human beings. It is usually on the other side. But right now you have macro indicators suggesting like you have a couple more CPI announcement before, like one more CPI announcement before the actual Fed hike comes in. So that's going to be September 23rd, and in between you have the Ether going on for proof of stake. Now on the Ether side of this, you actually see like, okay, yes, they are actually talking about what can happen in the market, and that's where I've been retweeting and stuff where Vitalik was actually talking about for the payments to be successful, the fee should be 0.002. And I'm like, okay, you just cut the throats of normal people for a long time, and now you say this. Till this point, when we, the XRP community, talk about that, they kind of completely denied that fact. And in this, we are also looking at like, okay, what really is happening and central banks are they? Now, in this, it's not only XRP based, which is in general investing, financial education. So when we are looking at these, you do have to filter these. Fine. This is what I'm talking about, right? So when we are looking for this, we do understand, okay, there are macro indicators for September from central banks as well as some from crypto. So by that time, you do have to be careful where the price is. If the price is close to 30 and they're saying, okay, we are extending another time, that's going to be bad. People would move out from the market or even short the market, and the market may go down. But if that happens after a long waiting time and then it's all good news, most likely, yeah, you're going to continue higher. You're going to test these highs. Now, this is not the point of time where you go bearish or completely bullish. But one thing is for sure, this is not the time where you're completely bearish, because you need to actually see like, if the price came lower, it's bouncing right now. It breached the 200-day moving average on a weekly, but right now you are staying above that. Now that is actually a bullish step for Bitcoin on a weekly, a macro chart. You have seen this. You go below this, then you eventually come back up. Now the question is how long it takes the price to come back above the 21-day moving average. If that happens to be soon enough, that kind of gives you the idea of what we've been talking for a long period of time. You kind of take these horizontal rays and put it here, so you kind of understand like, okay, what we've been discussing from a long time. Markets do this all of the time. So if you are looking for the impulsive waves, you got the first one, you corrected back down, you got the second one, you're correcting back down. Now you're trying to go back up. So if you are going back up, that's the completion of wave 2 and you're entering into wave 3. Whether you deny this or not, if you kind of get the information like, okay, this is another bull run starting, so you're going to see next 3-4 years of bull run, I'm like, okay, that may not be the case. Here is, this can be wave 2 and wave 3. So here for Bitcoin, it's going to be wave 3, and altcoin market, it's going to be wave 2. So different coins actually suggest you different scenarios, but right now you can actually go back, look at like see a coin on a weekly, which kind of gives you that idea, right? We have been talking through this from some time, but right now when the market is bouncing, it kind of gives you a better understanding. You haven't completely gone crazy bullish, but right now the chances are higher that you're going to test this resistance where the moving average is there. And at that time, you're looking for your indicators. What do they suggest? So you are trying to connect through your resistance and you are like, okay, they are around that point where you really want to be. Meaning, if you are a bull, you want to see something changing. And after a very long time, something is changing and you're breaking to the upside. So that does see like, okay, someone is entering heavy, or the supply which existed here in the market is drained. Now, when you take that supply range or the resistance support range, you kind of see like, okay, that happens to be a long-term support resistance. Price came in there, people bought in, or at least the whales or those who are long on this one, long-term, they bought in. They do have the understanding that the market goes up crazy, but after that it drops heavily. But the first heavy drop does not mean that the market cycle is done. If you see a first heavy drop like this, say 80-90% for the price, that's the first wave. You now have the next big wave coming in. So if you are in the altcoin market and you are looking at the coins, you now know that the market is about to do that. So now this one is like in general, we know that. Fine. So will XRP join that party is the hard part with the SEC case. So if you are like me, heavy in XRP, you need to actually think about having 5, 10, 20% of other assets in your portfolio. If SEC case is delaying you and your targets are say $15, $20 XRP for wave 2, and other coins are doing 50, 100x and XRP is still slow, that's like a huge missed opportunity because this is wave 2. In wave 1, I never say that. Why? It's wave 1. You have wave 2, and usually wave 2 is where XRP joins the party. And if XRP is not doing that this time around, now that's like, it's going to be a missed opportunity. Now, I'm not saying don't completely be in XRP. I'm saying like, okay, have a little bit of bag, small portion, maybe 20%, 25%, where you have trading assets, where you have other long-term bags, fundamental assets, right? It can be like, HBAR, Quant, XDC, XLM, these payment tokens, or else it can be like the smart contracts like Cardano, or you can look for the pure fundamental assets like Cosmos or Atom, and then Polkadot, AVAX, these kind of stuff, which are there in institutional grade funds, and they are also focusing on these because they have this level of specifications, which kind of, say like, okay, even if Ether is going to do POS, we need to actually see like how it actually works, because we've been listening to them from a very long period of time, and we do have to know what they are coming out with. Because when you go for a transfer next time, you don't really want to see huge fee structure, because if they are maintaining that level of fee structure, now you are like, okay, I'm out of this particular asset or the project. Fine. Now you will see maximalist on each side of it, but you shouldn't be one of them. What I would suggest is like, look at the macro scenario, because this is happening. If you are that guy who's looking for next 15, 20, 25, 50 years, thinking about your next generation, your children, then you do have to understand this. It's not about crypto. It's not about your money. It's about the next generation's financial freedom. So if you now take a decision of educating yourself financially, knowing what is happening in and around you, this is real. There's nothing like it's just time pass, because right now when I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, that does mean something. Meaning even the central bank, this is from the official lane, and they are highlighting you like, okay, why raise again when the citizens are already cornered? They are highlighting that it helps reduce spending. So in other words, it kind of helps kill the demand, right? So you're not going to spend more because your mortgage now costs more. You don't have more money to spend on extra things which you love. instead you're forced to put that money into your mortgages, credit cards, car loans, or whatever is an interest bearing financial stuff which you have taken as a debt. And if you're not using that as a financial tool, now that's gonna screw you. Fine. So that's where I'm like, okay, you guys need to definitely understand what's highlighted here. Shout out to Adam for putting this one clearly, because the central banks right now are talking about this again and again. When they say there is no inflation, this is one of the stuff which I've completely understood after moving to Canada. I'm like, okay, I go to a grocery store here and I'm like, wow, okay, the prices can't be this high. Because if you're buying something in the Asia for like $1, you're paying $4 here for the same stuff. And I'm like, okay, so you get that exported here and you're paying this in price. Why? The supply chain prices, the oil price is going high. You can do all those, but at the same time, you also look for something. One of that is this. I'm like, okay, the total GDP to debt ratio look like this. So it's Japan. We all know that they're printing money, they're buying the stocks, they're putting, doing all those crazy stuff. They call it modern monetary theory, and we have actually watched a lot of different countries going through that route and getting hammered. So we need to actually see how long they can keep this up. But then it's Singapore, France, Canada, Belgium, Greece, all of these countries. So imagine you have $100 income and you want to pay back $300. Now you need to have some magical tools to do that, to service that one. So here, if you are in the right place, looking at this, now is the time where you need to take action. It was actually like a year or two back, which was the perfect timing. But right now, if you're watching this, then you don't have any other choice. You are looking for fundamental assets, and this information is completely about payments. That's why we are talking about payment assets, because I don't think like it's going to be just one asset ruling the entire payment space, because you'll have different governments with different opinions, with different political agendas, kind of, staying away from one particular asset, right? So at that point, you do have to look for, now it's not completely like, diversifying like crazy, but it's in one sector of payments or smart contracts, which attracts you as an investor. Now, this one is what I've been talking about for some time. Like, okay, you need to think about this. If that gets delayed and the information comes out by September 13th, that's going to kick the market. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And if they do that extension again, now it may not be a good stuff. So right now, this is like, okay, normal guy won't actually think about this in a different way, but I would actually ask you like, okay, if you are reading this, what do you really think? Say the quote is like the world's largest asset manager. So they are like, the BlackRock, I think, which is where they are pointing towards, is all going to offer Bitcoin. So this is the news, right? So usually whenever these kind of news comes out, I kind of think like, okay, what really is the agenda being pushed in? So it's like, okay, they are going to sell this. That means their clients are going to buy this. The price is going to go sky high. So initially, I think this is what they are trying to put into the market. And the market may think, okay, let us buy. That usually ends as a trap. You come lower, liquidate all those leveraged positions, and then go back up. Now, if you are having dry powder and you already packed your bags, now you look at this and you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to get another buying opportunity. So thinking properly is important when you are in such an asset class where, manipulation is sky high. Now, I don't know how many of you guys actually give importance to IMF, but this one again is important. If you are here, you are looking at what's happening right now in the world, this will prevail. Governments across the board are actually printing money. They're spending a lot more than what they have or they earn. It's literally like borrowing from the future. But if you actually look at that in a way, like you're saying, okay, I'm going to spend this amount of money right now. My children or grandchildren are going to pay this back. Fine. So what if you don't have children or grandchildren? Think about that for a moment. There are countries right now having population decline, which, one of the advanced economies like South Korea, where the population is declining. and they still print a lot like this saying, okay, the future generations are going to pay this off, or we're going to inflate it. So the debt goes down, the value of debt goes down, right? The purchasing power is reduced. That still ends up so bad. So if you are in the crypto market right now, you are desperately looking at this market and you desperately need to understand what is happening in the market so you have a better chance to take the profits out. Now that is one of the reasons why we go through all this, literally pointing to all these assets and what can happen one by one. We were doing the TA sessions where we at least try to go through all the assets and put that perspective there, where you now know like, okay, what is the odd for that asset to break higher, whether it's going down, whether it's just below resistance, where you shouldn't be buying. If you're buying, it should be a breakout or a retest, not just below the retest of that resistance, because that can fail and get rejected. The price may go back down, right? So if you are adding onto a bag and your average is much lower than that, and you believe all the indicators suggest there is going to be a breakout, okay, now that's a choice you can take. But guys, you do have to take risk in this market, but that risk should be properly balanced, and it shouldn't be like 90% risk and 10% reward. It should always be having that proper balance. If you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.